podcast like beginning music from earlier, or like splice
You
it.
can play whatever music you want to play right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is gonna be super duper ghetto, but hold on one second. I'm gonna hold my phone to my computer.
Oh, okay. Now I get what you're doing.
All right, here we go. Bootleg, it's the most bootleg ass episode ever, beginning right now.
Hello, baby. Hello, hello, friend. Hello, little girl. Hello, my treacherous friends. Hello, operator. The big gang of everything. Welcome back, my friends. It's showtime.
Everybody's episode 200 and
Take it, Mark.
So Jay is gone for he's in Thailand in prison there or something, and the show has already gone to shit. We're trying to do the first show ever without Jay, and I am Mark, and I guess I am the host. I am the host today, and joining me is Bri and Pete.
Hi guys. No special, no memorable quote from me.
Do you go by Pete or Peter?
Pete's fine.
Okay. Pete is our number one fan today, and he said while Jay is gone, he wanted to record the show and do a show with us.
Mm-hmm.
He's our sound engineer today.
Mm-hmm.
He is a very smart guy, smarter than Brian and I put together, and he's gonna because he actually knows how to record the show. Brian and I have no clue how to do that, and that's what we're doing today. So, Pete, how are you doing?
Good. I was astonished at the barrier of entry for being on the show is just knowing how to record the show. So that's thank you for.
Well, we're kind of lazy on this end, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. I thought that was a big barrier to entry since I have no idea how to do that. Brian, so last show you drank most of the alcohol in Connecticut. I am shocked to learn that you're still alive.
I don't feel like I'm pretty sure that night took a lot of a toll off my life.
Let me ask you,
I'm
Pete.
just gonna say right now, I blacked out and I don't remember anything from the show.
Pete, if you had to guess who would be alive today, Bri or Chris Cornell, who would you have guessed?
I mean, I would have thought Chris Cornell.
That's a little too soon. I think a Sunday morning or Saturday morning that might have been a better question, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would have definitely said like you or Roger Ailes. Ailes would probably be dead, but
Yeah.
Brian, that was touch and go.
yeah.
The craziest thing about that whole episode is you were like willing your own death so much and actually taking steps to achieve it like at the same time. It was just parallel track.
I don't even want to know what you mean by that because I don't remember any of it.
How much did you drink before? Sorry. How much did you drink before we started the show?
I really didn't drink that much. I didn't eat dinner. That didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had like a bottle of vodka that had maybe like an inch and a half from the bottom full, and I drank that before the show as I was getting ready, and then apparently I had another bottle that had about a little more than that I remember grabbing and putting at my feet on the couch, and when I came to like Saturday afternoon, that bottle was empty, so I must have finished that. But I only had like I was drinking vodka and Sprite, and I only had like 3 cans of Sprite. And I don't know what I was drinking after that. If I was just drinking it vodka straight or with water or with blood or vomit or...
Did you throw up or?
Yeah, I woke up in the night and puked.
Oh my God.
Wow.
First time in a long time that's happened.
You live alone, right? You don't live with your girlfriend or friend or whatever?
No, just me and the dog.
Actually, he lives with her 6-year-old son. It's kind of a strange relationship, actually. The son was holding Bry's hair in the toilet.
Oh, wow. He's like an understudy. Do you guys typically drink before? I'm sure all the fans want to know. Do you pregame like before the show typically, or how do you go? What's your like strategy or approach to the show?
It depends the night of the week, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a weekend, and I had a bad day, and I wanted to let off some steam, so I knew I was going to get myself in trouble. Like, every now and then, I just will drink myself to that point where, like, fuck it, who cares?
So I have to wake up with kids in the morning, so I almost never drink on the show because it's so painful when you drink when you get like drunk and then you wake up with kids, it's the most painful thing possible because your kids don't give a shit that you're like, I don't feel good. They're like, play with me, make my breakfast. But I'm really not feeling it. I'm hungry. Fine, God. And you can't be like, hey, honey, could you take the kids today? I'm hungover. Fuck you. Okay, cool. I'll take the kids.
Having kids is kind of like having a hangover every morning.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, I rarely. The only times I ever drink with the show is when if I go to Jay's apartment in Queens and like do the show with him, then I'll drink in the show. We had Pete, did you listen to the show that we did the Century Club on?
No, I don't remember that. What was that?
It might have been episode 100. It was a while ago. We did a shot of beer every minute, I guess.
Oh, gosh.
For 100 minutes, and that's like the Century Club. And I definitely was the first to puke on that show.
So you guys haven't actually physically seen each other though in some time, right?
I've never met Mark.
I've never met Brian. Yes, Brian went to college with Jay, and you started being on the show, and we keep talking about meeting up at a Met game or something. But Brian, when's the last time you've been to? Actually, I was going to say when's the last time you've been to New York, but you were in New York this past week, right?
Yes, I did actually make that trip in, and I had a better time than I anticipated. So
I saw Jay pretty. How recently I saw Jay? I saw Jay within the last 6 months, but like I used to go to his apartment more to do the show, but since I moved to the suburbs, it's a lot more annoying to go to the apartment.
I don't think I've seen Jay in like 5 years.
Did you sleep in his bed? Because I remember that was a topic of the last episode.
Me?
Yeah. So hang on, let's go back to Brian. You were going to come out for the show. Come out for the who's the artist? Who's the singer?
Zach Brown.
Okay, so you were going. You were forcing your girlfriend to go out there because you're a big Zach Brown fan, right?
I think it was the other way around.
We'll go. You being a big Zach Brown fan, you find him sexy.
All right.
So what did you end up doing? Did you come that morning or?
Yeah. She came down to my house Monday night, and I went to bed at 8:00. And I didn't fall asleep till like 11, and I woke up at 12:30. And we left my house at 5:02. And we were talking about it all weekend, and I came up with this really good strategy. So I drove to Citi Field.
Okay.
Because there's a commuter lot, like actually where the 7 line does the tailgate is a big commuter lot. And I'd gone there 2 weeks ago for a day game, and I knew that, the lot was like half empty. So I was like, well, if I get there in the morning and just act like I'm a commuter, I could get right on the 7 line, go into the city. And I did some research. First, before I did that, I did some research to see if the 7 line could get me to where we needed to go without having to make a million stops and having to like have a Jay type of Facebook post complaining about the MTA.
Wait, anyways, so your strategy was like, hey, honey, you know what makes this trip even more fun? 45 minutes on the subway.
Well, I didn't want to. It was that or drive in Manhattan in the morning.
But don't you feel like driving in Manhattan at like 5 a.m. should be pretty easy?
Well, yeah, 5 a.m., but not at like 10 o'clock when we were getting ready to leave. Because what happened was I found out that the show and the concert was over at 9 o'clock. So then I was like, all right, I'll go, but we're leaving right after so I can go home and go to work. So I was like, at first she was going to drive, and I was like, you can't fucking drive. You're a horrible driver, and you're not going to want to drive in New York City, and I don't want to drive in New York City. So I figured it'd be easier on the way out to deal with that than to have to deal with all the rush hour, not the rush hour, but just the constant Manhattan traffic, which actually worked out perfect because we were back at my car at Citi Field by 10 o'clock, except all the traffic on 678, it took me an hour and a half to get from Citi Field to the Whitestone Bridge. So that kind of sucked.
You can't really avoid the traffic.
No, you can't.
I would have said you should have parked. I mean, if anything, if you wanted to park like in an outer borough, you could have parked by Jay's apartment. We're in Queens, actually. Like it's a shorter commute than it is to get in the Citi Field.
Yeah, it was only like a half hour, 40 minutes. I mean, the 7 line at the hour we were there, it closed at a certain point. So I got off and I got on the F line, and the F line took us right to Rockefeller Center, which is where we were. So it's like perfect.
Actually, I would have probably parked. I still would have driven into Manhattan. I feel like it's still a. Whatever, who cares?
It might. I mean, it could have been. I mean, there was literally when we got to Rockefeller Center and got in line for the thing at 4:30, and I mean there was probably like 30 people in front of us already, and I mean there was no cars anywhere. I mean I'm sure I could have found a spot to park, but just 9 o'clock, rush hour in there. I didn't want to have to deal with that shit.
Here's important.
Oh God, I was going to say somewhere in the depths of a Bangkok prison, Jay is chuckling, lightly to himself that this podcast has devolved into a conversation about traffic comparative
Can
traffic
I
patterns.
just mention Jay's vacation? Jay went like 3/4 of the way around the world to this vacation, to somewhere where he'll never go again. I don't know what's over there to see as like a tourist or whatever, but he's posting pictures from fucking 7-Eleven and playing Dance Dance Revolution. I mean, he could have stayed in New York and done that.
He could have achieved
on
that in
Facebook,
Queens.
He's posting like it's like this is 7-Eleven in America versus 7-Eleven in Thailand.
And then today is him playing Dance Dance Revolution. What is this, 2002 again?
Yeah. Well, he said he already has some stories for the show. Last show, between you being you obviously trashed the entire time. Between the stories about talking about your drive or how you're going to figure this plan out to see Dak Brown, Pete and I were talking about this. You were kind of obsessed that Jay would not return from this trip because he'd be in prison.
Or dead.
Either in prison or just like some sort of passport malfunction, or just because I could see Jay like making a wrong turn down an alley, like looking for a 7-Eleven and ending up being, part of like some human trafficking ring somehow.
So you think Jay is the living, breathing Mr. Bean?
Yeah, it's possible. You've never traveled with Jay. I've traveled with Jay.
What is like the worst travel decision you've seen Jay make?
Well, I told that story. I vaguely remember telling the story about how he forgot his birth certificate when we went to Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we went to Panama City one year, the first day we were there, he didn't put sunblock on and he got sun poisoning, and he looked like a clown for 6 days. He had like red and white spots all over himself.
Pete, you ever make any bad travel decisions?
Yeah, actually, not very long ago, I rented a car. It was the worst car for the terrain that I was on, but I wanted a convertible, so I rented a Mustang convertible, and I was driving all over like the Navajo reservation roads in the Southwest that are not even roads, and my car got completely trapped near this big weird mountain called Shiprock, New Mexico, which everyone should look up. And there was literally not a single human for like 10 miles in any direction. So that wasn't my best decision. I had to like dig the car out with sticks, like dig both wheels out with sticks and pull like all this like brush and cacti with my bare hands. It got a little bit grim, and yeah, probably like not even my worst decision, but like in the bottom.
Who's gonna play you in the movie? Because you had to be doing that, being like, shit, they're gonna make. I guess if I saw my arm off, they'll make a movie about this.
It would have to be some weird like experimental artsy movie, because it was not like 27 hours like that dude who, remember that guy, or what is that movie called? Cuts his own arm off. Like for me, I just would have passed out, and eventually maybe someone would have seen me or something. I don't know. It's a good question.
The entire movie would just be a flashback of you being like at the car dealer, being at the car rental place, being like, I'll take a Mustang. Shit.
Yeah.
I'll take a Shit.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the salesman snickering as you're filling out the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
You want the Mustang? Ha 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 ha.
Going to Shiprock, huh? Pick the perfect car. Although the other really shitty story I have involves a rental car in Hawaii, and I don't know if any of you guys have been to Maui, but the top like northwest quadrant of Maui, that island, is a single lane dirt road that your entire rental agreement is like nullified if you set, foot with your car there. And I was just looking at the map, and I was like, I've already done the other 3/4 of this small island. Let me just go the full way. And it might have been like a 25-mile distance to get to the airport, which is near the top of the island. It took me 4.5 hours. It was like the most perilous drive ever. There's no guardrail. There's zero shoulder, and to the side, there's just an immediate drop, like 1,000 feet straight into the ocean. That was bad.
Pete, I don't know you very well, but can I give you some life advice?
Yeah, please. Please.
Wait, hang on. Don't rent cars.
You know what? I should have gotten that lesson. Like, it should have soaked in a long time ago. But I think every time I've rented a car, actually just this week, I'm renting a car for my new job, and it got towed. Like instantly, as soon as I walked away from it on a street I don't normally park on, So I think as you say that, Brian, you brought into focus that I should just have this as a life policy to never rent a goddamn car again.
Well, it's weird. Like, I'm listening to you say that. It made me think of something that I thought about myself a couple weeks ago. Like, all right, so like every time you rent a car, you have like a horrible experience. I have that same problem when I wear a suit. I was thinking about it. Like, the last like 6 times I've worn a suit, it's all been like for like horrible things have happened, or because of like, you know, like I had to go to a funeral for like my grandmother or for my mom, or like earlier this year I went to my friend's wedding and it was a fucking disaster. And my prom, I got ditched at my prom. And like every time I wear a suit, like bad things happen.
There was that time. There was that time you wore the suit and you rented the Mustang to the guy who was going to drive out in the desert. That was fucked up because you like died.
That was really bad. That's interesting. I wonder if like you had a full scope view of your entire life, if you could see other weird correlations like that, like, and how many there would be. You know, maybe you're doing something every day that makes your life miserable or makes my life miserable. You know.
In the movie version,
I don't know if I'm doing anything to make your life miserable. I need to
it's possible.
be responsible for that. But.
Yeah, probably not.
In the movie version of your lives, like I'm watching the movie, I'm like, don't get that suit, don't rent that car.
Just go naked and ride a horse.
Use a bicycle, please.
Yeah, man, but
with like the over dramatized version, Pete's like, I'll take the car that's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that car that's where the muffler is dragging and the tires look like they're soft and there's smoke coming over out of the hood.
Give me the one
that one's. I could get a deal on that one, right? Yeah.
The one that
Brian's like, I'll take
snakes.
the suit with the random person's blood on it.
I'll take the suit with the bullet holes in it.
No, you gotta take the suit.
For anything.
You gotta take a suit that someone like killed themselves in or something. I'll take that one. Yeah, it's cheap.
Recently worn by a suit recently worn by Chris Cornell. I'll take that.
Oh gosh.
I didn't realize, by the way. So I saw, and I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Soundgarden. Not a big fan of Audio Slave. You guys big fans of Audio Slave?
Audio Slave. Audio Slave and Velvet Revolver, those two super groups, I always think should have been better than they were based on the people that were in the band.
Which one was the so? Audio Slave was Chris Cornell, and which band was it?
Rage Against the Machine.
Rage Machine. So I remember hearing about that band, being like, "Wow, this is going to be awesome."
Yeah,
and then I heard the music. Yeah, it wasn't at all. And then what was the other one? So, and what's the Velvet Revolver?
Revolver was Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots, Slash, Duff McKagan, and one of the drummers from Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, I don't know why those bands. Like, Pete, were you a fan of those bands?
I mean, I listened to like Rage Against the Machine when I was in school, but not really after, you know, they kind of came of age when I was like 18, 19.
Yeah, I liked all the parts. Like, I liked Rage Against the Machine. I liked Soundgarden. I liked Stone Temple Pilots. But you put them all together, it did not work out for me.
Yeah, based on the talent in the band, like like if you heard it and you were just like, oh, that's who, yeah, that's cool. But then when you're like, oh wait, that's Chris Cornell and Tom Morello, and then that should be better. Like
but it's also like Rage Against the Machine with. It's almost like you went back in time and they were like, Paul McCartney, he's going to join forces with the what's left of the Doors, and it would just probably suck.
Yeah.
Did you guys like? I mean, if you look back, did you like the Traveling Wilburys?
They were. I don't know that many of their songs, but like the one they always play on the radio, I really like a lot.
Yeah, Roy Orbison died. Like, I just remember like seeing that like one video and that one song, and I was like, who are these old guys? Like, I was probably like 10. I was like, who the fuck are these guys? Yeah. And then Roy Orbison died, and I just didn't care anymore. I was like, all right, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard Chris Cornell. I knew he died earlier today because I saw it. I saw
everywhere.
Everywhere, pretty much. And then I didn't realize and I guess I didn't read this. I saw he died, and I was like, I just assumed he's in his 50s, drug overdose, because that's just what you do. And then I didn't realize he's hung himself. I only saw that in the news like half hour before the show started, and I was like, holy shit, he hung himself.
Yeah, like when I heard that he died, I was just like, that's like really random that he just died after a show. Like, all right, whatever. And then as the day was going on, I kept seeing things on like Facebook and Twitter that like they're investigating a suicide and everything. And then I was like, that's even weirder that like you just play a show and then you just like roll back to your hotel and hang yourself. That's just really just random and like bizarre.
And if Roger Ailes had hung himself, we'd all be like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I don't think you've seen Roger Ailes. I don't think there's a rope that could have supported the mass of that dude.
The rope company be like, not being in poor taste, but we supported him in that hanging. Our rope is that unbreakable.
Yeah, right. My dad's like somewhat of a conservative-minded dude, but when I was talking to him this morning, even he couldn't resist making the joke. I was like, "How did he die?" He's like, "I think his wife probably killed him." So I don't know how that guy did die.
I don't even think I saw anything.
I assume karma finally just like hit him over the head. Actually, we don't really know your politics, so we don't know if we were like, you could have like reacted by that by going like, Roger Ailes, the god of all politics, died.
Yeah,
that's so much sadder than Chris Cornell.
Mm-hmm. It was actually the reason I was kind of late today is I was just praying at the little Roger Ailes and Bill O'Reilly shrine I've constructed in my house here. You know, just hoping for the best.
So, I was looking at an article about the fact that actually, this was I was thinking about Roger Ailes, and I saw this article on the Ringer about it was this week in conspiracy. Everything's going on with Donald Trump this week from the perspective of a Fox News. Like if you're watching Fox News, how it's been covered. It's been covered as like a conspiracy all week and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, Bill O'Reilly. I wonder what he's got that podcast. Let me look at his podcast. What he's saying about it. So I looked up his podcast, and the best part of his podcast is the podcast has like hundreds of reviews, has like 2 stars, and I was like, wow. I mean, O'Reilly's pretty popular among his fans. Why does it have 2 stars? You go to the reviews, all the reviews are like, you sexist pig, 1 star. I hate you, 1 star. And then all the 5-star reviews are like, hey, stop leaving bad reviews. Stop leaving bad reviews. I love when people do that shit like that.
Oh man.
So, you know what's also, are you guys fans of House of Cards?
Yeah, I was. I kind of like lost me in the middle of, I guess, I don't know, season 2 or 3 or something. I don't know. They're up to like 4 or 5 now, right?
Yeah, I thought so. I liked 1. I actually kind of loved season 2. 3 was pretty bad.
Maybe it was 3 that lost me.
And then 4, the most recent one, was actually really good. And so 5 is coming on. It comes out in a few weeks, and I'm like, season 5 of it is going to suck basically because in comparison to what's really going on, it's going to be kind of tame.
I've never seen the show, so I don't.
It's Kevin Spacey.
I know what it is. I mean, I know the idea. He's a president, right, or something, or.
He plays a cripple, and he tells a story about who's the killer when it turns out he's really Kaiser Soze.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah.
That was season 3, I believe.
Yeah, I would have said spoiler alert, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was yesterday. I had a really long day, and you know, like you kind of like I was in a lot of traffic driving, and it was kind of annoying driving all this traffic, and I'm feeling almost like, oh shit, I had to drive through all that traffic. But you're also kind of feeling like an asshole because the reason I was in so much traffic, this is actually, I was going to a funeral. My stepmother's brother died of ALS, which is a fucking horrible way to go and really sad. But I sat in like 2.5 hours of traffic to get there, and I'm almost like get there, I'm like I'm almost like talking about I'm like, oh man, I was so much traffic. They're like, oh yeah,
well, there's a dead guy there. Is that where you're going?
Yeah. I'm like, oh man, well, yeah, you at least you didn't have a horrible disease and die. Yeah, you're right. The traffic's probably better than that. Sometimes you feel like an asshole. Like you're like all the stuff I went through to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, the day I've had. Boy, anybody want to trade places with me today?
At least he gets to lay down all day.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
On the other hand, bad
At least
traffic.
everyone's talking about him.
It's pretty bad.
Do
you drive a lot?
Yeah.
Do you drive a lot for like just work or anything? Either of you guys?
I don't. I live in the suburbs of outside of New York City, and I take a train to work. So it's most of the time in the train.
Right. And you're an exceedingly slow walker, right?
Let's all talk together.
I work 5 miles from my house.
Words.
Short drive.
Okay, Pete, you have a drive. You drive with?
Yeah,
your-
I used to have like I had it made. I actually just had like a 3 minute walk to my office, but switched jobs recently. Now I do a reverse commute from the city out to the burbs, which you'd think would be forgiving, but it's actually like super misery. So,
Why did you give up the 3 minute commute?
it's a good question. I think this job that I took is a lot better and just more in line with what I want to do. It just sucks.
What you want to do is spend an hour and a half in the car? Is that
Yeah.
more in line with what I do?
Well,
You're like I kind of want to listen to more books on CD. So that's kind of what I want.
Yeah.
No, he wants to hear more of our podcast. That's why.
That's right. That's right. That and my long-term goal of slowly wanting to build enough rage to kill myself. I think that taking this job will help me.
Pete, we'll talk after the show.
Perfect. But yeah, I think Mark, you are like an exceedingly slow walker, correct?
Yes. It takes me like 15 minutes to walk a mile. 15, 20 minutes to walk a mile, while Jay can do a mile in a half a second.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just as an impartial listener, I could tell that Jay's has always articulated reasonable walking speeds and jogging speeds. So, what are you going to do to get yourself in line with Jay's natural walking speed?
So if I want to walk to the train station by me, it is 2 miles, and I've measured it's about 2 miles exactly. I think at like if I'm walking at brisk pace, I can get there in 35 minutes. I really can't get there much faster without actually like breaking out into a jog and then being all sweaty when I get there. And even when I do the 35 minutes on a warm day, I'm kind of disgusting when I get to the train, which is helpful to get people not to sit next to you.
Yeah. Although you do get that person every once in a while who just like doesn't care. Like you could be literally on fire, and if they see the empty seat, it's like, this is the one.
Actually, so here's the thing that happens to me. It happens to me on the train sometimes, and this is not like I'm not like I've showered that day. I smell just my normal self. Someone will sit down next to me, and they'll get up and sit somewhere else. And sometimes if they're getting somewhere to sit somewhere else, the way the train works is like half the seats face one way, half the seats face the other way. So I understand if someone sits down next to me, doesn't realize I'm sitting backwards, and wants to make sure he's facing forward. Some people don't like being on a train unless they're facing forward. Totally get that. But then some people will just sit down next to me and then just move and sit down like maybe like the seat like 2 seats over
in the same direction.
And I kind of want to go like, hey, what did I do?
All right. Is it, and this is, this question is coming, is it because you're clutching a big black dildo?
Well, I am.
Who are you, Kevin Plawecki?
Oh, the Mets references.
Begin.
We could just talk Mets the whole episode.
We could do that. Jay's not here.
Wouldn't that be great if I just had one on my head?
I can't understand why people don't want to sit next to me. I'm just clutching this big black dildo on my head.
I'm like wearing people are like, what are you wearing in your head? And I'm like, I'm Jewish. It's a yarmulke.
That would be amazing.
But that's not a yes. Did you not like Jewish people? And I didn't say it. I'm gonna wear it, and we're just gonna pretend you don't hate Jewish people. Okay, go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's how you've chosen to interpret the religion.
How long is your drive? So on this commute.
It's only it's like distance. It's only 30 miles, but it literally took 2 hours to get back home today, which was completely bananas.
Wait, you're doing a 30-mile drive is like pretty long for a commute.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, I guess the idea in reverse commute, you're thinking 30 miles, 30 minutes, I'm golden.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on the way out there this morning, it was like less than an hour. It was like 45 minutes. But on the way back, I think there's a Cubs game, which is probably like a big factor in like making everything horrifically slow, because the people from the burbs here, obviously I'm in Chicago, have a very I'm in Cincinnati. There's a Cubs game. Everything is screwed up. Made it really really weird. But I'm eventually going to probably go the train route. But I do try to like work out in the morning before the gym, even though I'm before going to the office, because I'm not a morning person. But there's no chance I do any exercise ever in my life after work. I literally want nothing to do with it. So the timing I need to figure out. But eventually I'll probably take the train.
The train is the train like is it? I guess the train you could just sit down on. Like it's. I'm just thinking it's not like is it like a subway? Or
Actually,
like...
this is a standing and sleeping train only, so you must stand or just lie down flat on the floor of the train. That's it.
Well, you had me in the first part of it as being serious, but
no,
we have sleeping neighborhoods. We have the sleeping policy in the city. Either you're walking around in the city or you're laying there like a homeless person with like a They do that in New York City too.
There's a lady on the train at 3 a.m. She was like in that like 3-seater that's like right by the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that goes like between the trains. She was totally laid out, wrapped in a blanket with a blanket underneath her, with a pillow and like a suitcase like in front of like on the ground in front of her.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh, all right, that's the way to go. Just chill on that all day.
On the way to Penn Station, for my commute home the other day, I guess on Monday, there was a guy that we're a block away on the sidewalk. He's just laid out fully, just sleeping, no shirt on, clearly homeless guy. And you see people walk by.
Was he pooping?
No one's sure. You're not quite sure if he's alive or not. But no one wants to like walk slow enough to find out if he's alive. No one really is just checking to see if he's alive. People are like, "That's strange." As they walk around, they go, "But gotta make my train."
Yeah.
And I have to say, I walk by him. I'm like, "Is he alive?" I'm like, "Yeah, he looks kind of alive." Because I'm like, he kind of like would he kind of fall over a little more. He's kind of in that sleeping position, and like I don't want to disturb him. He seems like he's getting like a good night's sleep there.
Yeah, I mean, think of what people are thinking. People are thinking, even the most like sincere person who wants to help someone is thinking, is he alive? To really know one way or another, I have to touch this person, and if I have to touch this person, I may get leprosy, and my train is about to leave. So taken all together, I won't touch this person and hope someone else will, and assume he's alive.
Also in New York City, there are a lot of homeless people, but there's people also who are like pretend homeless people who are trying to like scam, like just collecting money.
That's
So sometimes you see people and you're like, is he really? Like you try to like do detective work. You're like, is he really homeless? Those sneakers look cleaner than my sneakers, or like you try to like figure out if this guy's really. And there's this one person I see a lot who's asking for money, and the person has no arms or legs. And I'm like,
how are you supposed to give him money then?
I know he has like a thing around his neck, and there's like in his lap. He's in a wheelchair, and there's a thing in his lap for money. And I'm like, he's scamming me with this whole not having legs and arms thing. It's crazy. Yeah, he doesn't have arms or legs. It's like you see it, and you're like, holy shit! Like, you kind of want to give him money every day, but he's there every day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I also like you see him a lot. And I'm always like, isn't there's like some kind of government program where you find people that like say don't have arms and legs, and you take care of them financially? If we had like I'm kind of fine if my tax dollars take care of that guy.
Yeah, it would be hard to be a politician who's like, I stand for one thing, and it's against anti-funding people who have no arms, no legs. That's my strongest platform position.
Listen. If you want welfare, you have to work as a paperweight. If you work as a paperweight, I'm sure you can get business that way. We'll give you health care.
Yeah, the homeless game in New York. So just so you guys know, I grew up in New York. I grew up in Brooklyn and lived in New York my whole life until eventually I got relocated out to the Midwest. But the homeless game in New York is pretty sophisticated. I remember in college, I went to college in the city. There was one dude who would just show up, and I remember the first time he came by, he looks like a normal guy. He's like, "Hey man, you got a quarter? I need to make a phone call." This is back in the payphone era, and I was like, "Yeah, oh sure. I mean, here's $1. Just keep the change." He's like, "Thanks, bro," and he disappeared. And then I saw him every single day for the rest of my college career, asking people for a quarter. And like, there are enough people and enough turnover in like the East Village that he got plenty of quarters. And I mean, he was dressed better than most people. And that was just like, but he's a homeless guy. He was a hobo. Just really sophisticated homeless game.
I had a friend who fell for the I need money bus fare to get home, and like this girl, like it was a female friend of mine, but she'd fallen for someone else, like this female homeless person who like, I need money to get home. I'm stranded here, and she gave her the money. And then she saw her like later that day doing the exact same scam, and she was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And we were like, "Yeah, how did you not spot that scam?" Like,
my dad got homeless scammed once, and I mean, he's a big proponent. So, I mean, we all are, everyone in my family, like, if you see someone who seems hungry or whatever, bring him food. And I think he was waiting.
I thought, just to interrupt you, I thought maybe you were saying he's a proponent of putting people on the street.
Yeah.
Like making it more of like a, Hunger Games should be a kind of a real thing.
I've never pressed on the issue, but you never know, given some of the media he watches. But yeah, he saw this guy outside of a Burger King. He was like, my dad was hanging out in a Burger King near like LaGuardia to pick me up or something. And he saw this homeless guy and he's like, you know what? I'm going to go get this guy. He looks hungry. He went in, he ordered like 3 bags of like, food. He came out, he gave it to him. The guy was like, thanks, man. Thanks. And the guy literally walked into the Burger King, threw all the bags into the trash, and just stood by the other door to beg there, like out of my dad's sight, like thinking he was invisible. And my dad was like, "What?" And he actually told me that he considered going over and having a word with him. And I was like, "I'm really glad you didn't, because that couldn't have been a very high level philosophical conversation about the homeless plight in New York. This wasn't gonna happen."
Mm-hmm. Do you want to cut to that scene? Pete, you want to play cut to that scene game? You want to be your dad?
Why don't you two play it out? Because I feel like
you're playing it. You're in this with us, Pete.
Sure.
Oh God, someone else giving me food. Okay, I need money.
Hey, young man. I brought you these 3 bags of Burger King combo meals. They should last you for a couple of days. Enjoy. I hope you feel better. Good luck.
Oh, wonderful garbage. I need money. I'm hungry. I have no money.
Sir, did you just throw out? And my dad's got an accent. Did you just throw out the food I brought you?
As if we weren't going to believe the character. Like, he doesn't have an accident. We know your dad.
just
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Who are you trying to fool here?
Get out of my face! I'm homeless.
That's pretty. I'm going to call the police now. You're going to go to jail. You learn your lesson in jail. They feed you there. Bye. And that would be it. End scene.
Oh, today, you know what I did today? I got a homeless person go to prison. That's what I did with my day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really how it would go. That would be the arc of the story. It'd be like, I started it with good intentions. I wanted this guy to be better off, but now he's in jail for 10 years because he stole a hamburger.
He's not homeless anymore. He's got a place to go, and they get free ass rape.
Yeah, sounds about right.
All the ass rape you could take.
I wanted to ask you guys something, going back to the earlier topic, just like trains and stuff. Have you ever noticed that like train culture is just wildly different from culture like anywhere else? Like your interactions with people on the train are like completely warped. It's like bizarro world across the board. Like if you talk to a stranger in the train, every other human on the train turns to look at you. What are they doing? Like, do you ever notice that? Like, everything else is just weird.
I had a weird, actually, on the subway on my way back after the concert on the other day, whatever day it was. I was on the subway, and there was a girl my girlfriend was sitting across from me, and next to her was this other girl, and next to me was another girl, not directly next, like same seat, but like 3 or 4 seats down. But it was just the 4 of us, and the girl diagonally across from me sneezed, and I looked up at her, and the girl next to me looked at me, like to see if I was going to do anything, and I didn't, and then she just didn't do anything either. But it's just we had this like weird eye contact. Where she looked at me like, "Are you going to say God bless you?" Or
yeah,
because you look like you're not from around here. Like, she gave me that look like I wouldn't do that if I were you.
I have to say, different. I was on the subway, and this guy, I like dorky looking kind of guy, like not like nothing special, and the girl was kind of like pretty attractive, and you knew like from the start they didn't know each other, and he just started talking to her, like he started a conversation with her. It was a pretty decent long train ride, and he kept it going pretty long, and I was like watching that, like just the whole time, just staring at it. That was my entertainment on the train ride, and I was like, he didn't like get her number at the end, but I was still like, wow, that was pretty good. I was like kind of impressed with the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to give him a high five for just like the effort there, because I feel like maybe he does that all the time, and like it's got to work at some point.
Yeah, I mean, because you're trapped basically in a metal tube, often underground, with like just your phone or whatever to keep you occupied. So when someone breaks that like unspoken but implicit covenant of non-interaction and silence, it's like suddenly there's live entertainment. So like this is happening.
But it's also the thing about it is though it's also an occasion where if something happens to the group, you can all talk. So like the train is delayed, then you can turn to the person next to you and go, "This sucks."
Train, yeah.
I know it does suck.
Mm-hmm. Any of you guys ever been trapped in an elevator with anyone?
No.
I was once trapped in an elevator for it was maybe 5 minutes, but what was memorable about it was within this 5 minutes, this woman on the elevator almost lost her mind.
That's
like
amazing.
we were all coming from this like volunteer thing. We get into the elevator. It stops between floors for 5 minutes. We had all had like a normal conversation. She like loses her mind to the point where I think she's like I'm like, is this is she playing pretend? I don't understand what's going on here. And then the elevator like started going again, and she like was fine. She's like, I have extreme claustrophobia. But it was one of those things where someone like freaks out to the point where you're like, are they just pretending to freak out? Because it's so over the top.
Mm.
Did you have like a freak out response to her freak out? Like, were you over the top, like trying to subdue her? Because that would have been amazing.
It didn't go on that long, and like the whole time I was just like, kind of staring, being like I was so confused whether she was serious.
Was
or
it just
not,
you two in the elevator?
There were 4 people in the elevator.
Hmm.
I think 3 or 4 people. I know I know we weren't the only 2 people on there. And it happened a long time ago. But I was like, I kept trying to figure out like, is she for real or not? And then at the end she was like, I have extreme claustrophobia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. As far as freak out, actually, I also had a thing with. Have you ever been with someone who freaked out when smoking weed?
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't happen that often.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with I had a buddy who like had not really like hadn't smoked in many years, but it was me. It was 3 of us, and we were generally like we smoke not like all the time or anything, but we definitely smoke. And my buddy who like his thing was he was going to be in the FBI, and so he was not going to smoke anymore. And at some point he was like, this dream's not going to work out. I'm not going to be in the FBI, or I'm not really going to pursue this. Like, I'm going to smoke with you guys. And we're all smoking.
Why do I feel like you're making fun of me?
Why? You weren't even like. We haven't met, Bri.
It sounds like.
Did you freak out over weed?
And why be in the FBI?
I know I've never smoked weed because I wanted to be in the FBI, but then I realized I wasn't going to be in the FBI.
Well, a lot of people have this dream. Unlike wanting to be a video editor, people have the FBI dream.
Oh,
I guess.
all right.
So anyway, he just like at some like we're all like shooting the shit, and then like at some point our friend is like, make it stop, and I'm like, make what stop? He's like, make it stop. He's like I can't take he just had a complete freak out over it. And then thereafter he wanted to smoke with us again. It took me a little while to be like, okay, I'll smoke with you again because he had such a freak out over it.
Wow.
Pete, what was your story about freaking out?
So mine's actually, I wasn't there for this one. This story was relayed by one of my best friends. He was in Amsterdam with his wife, and he's a big dude. He's a big English guy. He lives here in Chicago as well. He's like 6'3", like 240 pounds or whatever, and he never smoked weed or anything. And apparently he ate like he didn't understand like the weight to body, like the body weight to like THC ratio and like brownies there. So he ate like almost half a tray of the brownies, like the pot brownies in like some Amsterdam like coffee shop. And an hour later, he just like took off his shirt and just lay on the floor, like on the ground outside of the shop on the street, and demanded that the Dutch government send an ambulance to retrieve him because he was having a heart attack.
Oh,
like
God.
Would not move, and this was like a busy Friday night. And they had to request an ambulance, and he like would not move, and the people, they had like 4 of them had to lift him, put him on a stretcher, and just like drive him around Amsterdam, like not to a hospital, talking to him and trying to explain to him that he was not having a heart attack.
Well,
amazing story.
The stuff in Amsterdam is really strong, so that's I could see how someone ate that much would kind of freak out. I actually had a story where I was with. Like two people I knew, and then a bunch of people I didn't really know. And my friends had made brownies, and this was in college. and one of the guys completely flipped about the brownies and like wanted to go to the hospital, and these girls were like, we should call the ambulance, we should like take him to the hospital, and we were all like, no, he's fine, we're not doing that, we're not all gonna like get in trouble with the police because he's a fucking like he can't handle his weed. And he was fine because you can't really overdose from weed.
Yeah, it would take some really. I mean, that's like some exceptional effort. Like that would be like worthy of being in a like medical journal. Like this is the person who overdosed on weed, and like this is a tribute to them because that really took a lot of effort. Mm. Like you'd have to smoke an acre of it, I assume, or something crazy. I did watch a friend of mine in college who like I just ran into while I was out, and someone told me that she had taken like a lot of mushrooms. I watched her like compulsively write notes in a notebook and tear them out and hand them to people for like an hour, and it was pretty amazing. And then she started writing them to herself and putting them in her pocket.
So are we recording again?
Then, like, yes.
Okay, so Pete, you're a lawyer, right?
Yep, I am.
Okay, cool. I actually went to law. Those who don't, I went to law school, but I am not a lawyer. But Pete's a lawyer, and so I want to talk about the our legal system. Actually, could you defend us in a case?
Potentially.
We've murdered a homeless person. Can you defend?
I probably wouldn't want to defend that case, but yeah, I could do it. I've defended people who've been accused of murder before.
Well, here's the thing. We gave the homeless person a bag of food, and the homeless person put the food in the garbage, so we murdered him. So,
Dad?
I think we have yes. I dropped the accent, son.
Wow, this is the greatest twist ever.
I was just thinking about like how insane like society, the way things have been set up is, in the sense of like if you're gonna let's say you're setting up society, and you're like, you would set up if you're setting up society, you'd set up rules, right, Pete?
Yeah, any sort of society or culture should have rules. Yeah,
it makes sense.
So the rules and the rules should be something that like people can understand the rules, right? Yes,
they should.
So you think is it kind of a weird system where like, oh, we have a lot of rules in society. Oh, great. And what are all the rules? Well, some of them are clear, like don't murder, and the rest of them you have to pay someone to tell you what the rules are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of a weird system.
Mm-hmm. The criminal, I mean, the real, really, really super crazy thing about the criminal law and the criminal code is that it's like people are subjected to disproportionately severe punishments for pretty minor crimes. I mean, Mark, I know you probably...
Thanks, Jeff Sessions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole thing with Sessions now is...
he just
insane.
announced that he wants every prosecutor to basically go for the fullest penalty.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this. I'm friends with a handful of federal prosecutors, and one I'm really close with. Like, he goes to my church. And he told me point blank that, like, the actual reality on the line, like, where they work, is that nothing is changing, and they could not care less what Jeff Sessions thinks. So
that's good.
And that's Chicago, New York, big metro area. It might be different in like Columbus and Tallahassee, where some righteous prosecutor will take the opportunity to do that.
Is their view on that just because they don't think Jeff Sessions will have a job in a month?
You know what? To be completely honest, the view is based on the fact that they're prosecuting like much more like terrible and awful crimes, like going after gangs that are murdering civilians and racketeering and financial crimes. So
they're all pissed because the prison population's down.
Yeah,
they got to fill those prisons.
It's insane. I mean, America incarcerates more, like numerically, like a higher number of people and a higher percentage of our own population than any country on earth. So like numerically, it's higher, and percentage-wise, it's higher, which is crazy.
So Pete, you're saying we're awesome at this?
Yeah, I'm saying we've really developed an admirable knack for locking people up, and this is what makes America great. And
we like to lock up a lot of people, and a lot of those people aren't white, so it's
Actually, if you guys, are you guys fans of Michael Moore? Maybe you are, maybe you're not.
He's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets tiresome like everybody, but
anyway, so he has this movie called Where to Invade Next. Documentary, like they all are. And this one basically goes to different countries and like borrows their basically their systems. They talk about like in Italy, everyone gets like 8 paid weeks of vacation a year, something like that. And they talk about in France, like the school lunches are like gourmet meals. So what was really interesting, I mean, the whole movie actually I kind of enjoyed, but the craziest thing was, so they talk about the whole prison system in the U.S. Norway. Do you guys know anything about the Norway prison system? The Norwegian prison system?
I'm gonna guess they don't have one.
I can surmise.
It is summer camp. It is literally summer camp. They're separated like an island, but they're basically at summer camp. And it's the craziest, like there's no locks on anything, like they're really doing like arts and crafts and like trying to better themselves, but like it's so like just 180 degrees different than our system. And then they points out I guess our system, the rate of I hate
recidivism.
Yes, I'm so bad at pronouncing that word. The rate of recidivism in the U.S. is, with the first 5 years, something like 50% maybe, or like 60%, something pretty high. And the rate of recidivism in Norway was like 20%. Something. It was like a stark decrease, basically. And because they focus on basically just getting people back in society, versus we focus on punishing people and whatever else. But it was a really fascinating. You guys should look into the Norwegian prison system. Like, actually, I wouldn't mind just going there for like a vacation.
Guys, I have an idea for the pod. I think the three of you, and you could bring me along if you want, we should go to Norway and commit a crime together, and just spend about a year hanging out there.
Wouldn't it be funny if, like, instead of Jay like goes to Norway, but
Jay's already in a Filipino jail or wherever he is.
Oh, dude, if he's in a Filipino jail, he's having his like toenails taken off with like a rusty nail clipper because
Thailand. I forgot where he was going.
Mm-hmm.
I was confused, like the Philippines and all those areas. But it'll be funny, Mark, if while he was in Japan, he got a job as a video editor doing like anime or something like that.
But I was gonna say, what if he goes to the Norwegian vacation and Brian's like, he's never gonna come back, and then Jay really doesn't come back. He's in a Norwegian prison, but he's posting on Facebook of him playing Dance and like Evolution. It's all these fun things. He's like, God damn it! Look at our prison. It's awesome. I'm in the prison 7-Eleven. I'm in the prison.
Dude, Jay should go commit a crime in Oslo immediately, because I think if he ends up in a Norwegian prison, he will have the most realistic chances of passing the CPA and becoming a video editor.
Yeah, I would say. So,
no question.
So Brian, going to dreams. I don't think we talked about the show. Your dream was to be an FBI agent.
Yeah.
Did you ever take the test? You ever take the test and stuff?
I took the test for the Secret Service uniform division, and I got like a 96 on it. And nice. But they kicked me out because when I filled out like the application, like all the paperwork and everything, I put that I had done mushrooms, stupidly, and they were like, that's not gonna help your case."
Did they kick you out because you did mushrooms, or because you were dumb enough to admit that?
Probably dumb enough to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, looking back, and I was really annoyed about it. The guy said something about you have to be quote unquote clean for it was like 3 or 5 years. And it was like another year until it would have been up again, and I just never saw the test being taken again. But the test was so fucking easy. The hardest 2 questions on it were, it was like a sentence, and you had to use accept or accept, like A or E. That was the hardest question. They were all like so easy.
Would it be frustrating if Jay passes all 4 parts of the CPA exam but can't become a CPA because of mushrooms?
That would be funny.
No, I really towards the end of high school, once I decided I was going to Northeastern and study criminal justice, I really was like, yeah, I want to be like FBI or like CIA or something like that. And then like as I was like in college and like taking all those classes, I was like, yeah, I don't really want to be a cop, and I don't want to be in the military, and I don't know anybody, so there's not really any easy way to get there.
Are you happy for the moment that you're not like in the Secret Service? Because then you'd have like, I made the Secret Service, and I'm protecting this asshole.
Yeah, that would have been tough.
Hey, Brian, have you ever heard of something called DSS? I think it's like Diplomatic Security Services, by any chance?
It doesn't sound familiar, no.
It might be something. I don't know what your life plan is, but if you have any like latent interest in that sort of stuff, it's basically like the Secret Service for people in the State Department, but they're more like sophisticated, and they, when someone travels like within a country, like, if you're in the embassy in Baghdad or whatever, you have to develop like strategies to protect people from, changing threats. I have a friend who does it, and it sounds really awesome. And they don't subject people to the same, not that I'm saying like, it's open season on people who are active drug users, but it's not the same level of.
I haven't done mushrooms in 12 years.
Yeah. Even so, it's like they don't do that. I think the Secret Service, the CIA, and the FBI all use like lie detectors where they actually ask you questions about drug usage, and in the CIA, they actually ask you stuff about your like sexual history, because it can be used to test out whether, determine if you're blackmailable. But the State Department never, they don't really, they take you on your word. They do a thorough background check, and it's a little bit different. So might be something worth checking out.
What's it called? The DCSS?
DSS.
How to get into the DSS?
Like Delta Sigma Sigma.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to figure out how it's Brian. First of all, I like when Pete said, Brian, I don't know if you have a life plan. Like, Brian, do you have a life plan?
I do not have a life plan. I'm probably highly blackmailable, and I'm way too out of shape and disgusted with life to probably get into shape to do that kind of thing.
What do you think he has to do to get into this? Do you think there's a physical fitness portion of it?
It depends. I don't know if you'd want to be like a field agent, or you'd want to be like a manager who could think through security threats, and because I'm sure.
And I also don't think I'm as smart as I am, so I don't think like I would be able to do that kind of thing. Like, I always watch all these like movies like with the CIA, and I'm like, I never would have thought of that.
You see, well, there's a movie. I would hate like you were like doing really well at the exam, and then the last question was, can you buy a piece of property in New York City? You can't buy a property. You can't buy something.
No, this test is a fool's test.
The guy who wrote this listens to the show. God damn it!
That's right.
Suddenly, you just
I've said enough bad things in the show that I don't think I could get any kind of clearance job.
He sees that question and starts like takes out an American flag and sets it on fire in the testing center. It's like, no.
But in retrospect, I'm glad. I'm not glad, but like it was easier that I got like dismissed like right away, as opposed to like go through all that shit and then like the last thing it's like, oh, by the way, hope you enjoyed seeing all those stars, because you're not gonna get a job with the Secret Service.
I have to say, I bet a lot of people are knocked out for that reason, like the drug reason.
So I had to get a clearance at one point in my history. And it was interesting how they went about it. The person who was like running point on my like top secret clearance asked me for a list of 25 contacts and a bunch of other stuff. When I gave him the list, he then turned around and was like, all right, thanks to these 25 people, now give me 25 other ones. And it was used because obviously I listed the 25 people I thought would be the best people. And now I had to think of 25 entirely different folks. I thought it was a pretty
I don't think I know
thing.
50 people.
Yeah, it was hard to do, but it was non-negotiable.
Right.
And it worked out fine, but it was a really interesting little like tactic, and they do a lot of stuff they have a lot of little tricks like that to kind of get at the core view and figure out what your stuff is. But you know what? I still think to this day, Bri, they would not be able to find this podcast or anything you ever said. It would literally be like, this guy's a Sterling Kennedy. Like, it would never even hit the radar.
Huh. Did they call any of those 50 people, or?
Every single one who I followed up with afterwards, they did talk to, and he talked to a bunch of people on the original list too.
I had my roommate from school. Actually, when I was in law school, he worked in the White House for a while, and they did a background. They had to do a background check on him, and they called me, which I was like, "Do you really want to put me down as your recommendation?"
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they don't, obviously they just pick. That's 50 people is a lot of people on the call.
Yeah.
Did you used to be the president?
Yeah.
Can we ask what were you getting clearance for? That's a lot of. A lot of people.
I was handling work for basically a client who's a government contractor and does work involving like top secret stuff. It's not like anything ultra like crazy, but because of the nature of the work and the client being in this area, anyone who does anything with this stuff in any like detail needs to read stuff that as a civilian you can't really have access to.
What if he kept just going like, okay, name 25 more people. Name 25 more. And he's like, I just want to see if you make a list of 200 people. That's it.
Well, on the second list, I was like, man, crap, like who the hell? I mean, if I keep going, I'm going to get into like the delinquents in my life. So I just started listing my parents' friends and hoping that like they would speak highly of me, and several of them did. So
do you think if you have a client again like that, you could list Brian and I on there?
Yeah, you guys. Well, no, I'll put you guys.
I don't think I've ever been called as a reference for anybody.
That's not super surprising because you're a very direct, blunt person who would have no problem being like, Jay, yeah, he's a delinquent crackhead. Like, the first response to the call. I don't say that disparagingly.
Like this. I used to be quiet and shy. It was until I really gave up on everything, until I just got this fuck it attitude.
Is that interesting?
Mark, he's obsessed with having ants in his house. What the fuck? You don't want him in your job. He'll bring ants to your job.
He may or may not be obsessed with big black dildos. I don't know if that's a Steven powered thing or a Mark powered thing, but you should just check his bedroom drawers because who knows.
What were you gonna say? What were you gonna say before I interrupted you?
Oh no, I was gonna say isn't it interesting how like how giving up and just like letting go is so super liberating. It like actually empowers you to be able to just like speak your mind and go about things. I'm not saying you've completely given up or let go, Bri, but like being able to just do that is, like you have to be able to do that to be like real with yourself. So,
Mark, we should do more shows with Peter.
Fuck Jay.
No way, man.
It sounds like Jay a little bit.
It's close. He can record. That's
yeah.
He essentially is Jay.
I did send in. I do have to claim credit for sending in the Robo J voicemail like many episodes ago.
That was you?
Yeah, that was me.
That was pretty good.
So actually, I didn't write it. That was actual Robo J. I just transcribed it for Robo J and sent it in. So,
did you like Robo J?
Me? Oh yeah.
I thought that worked out really well actually.
I didn't think he was better than Jay, but I thought he was a great compliment and a very distinctive personality. A little bit slow on the uptake, but
I thought it was just a fantastic bit for one show.
Yeah, it would be rough long term.
So we have questions. Do you want to do some questions with us?
Yeah, happy to.
Let's do it. Well, we can't do the questions without you since you're recording. So
I could just sit silently and put the blindfold on and just let you guys go, chit chat. But
you could answer them.
Without Jay, we didn't get a million questions this week. But so we got 2 emails.
Jay must be the secret question writer then.
Probably. Lorenzo writes email. Hey Jay, here's a line from Bri from episode 273 for your best of. 11 minutes 35 seconds in. If I could blow myself, I wouldn't talk to anybody.
Was that last week?
Do you think it was a different week? And then he followed up with 1 hour, 21 minutes, 20 seconds to the show. Bri, I'm about to slap the shit out of my dog.
Oh, God.
I don't remember what he did. Is he barking?
I don't remember. That was actually those were both show lines I remembered from the show, and they were very classic lines.
Yeah, they were. That was the first. I think those were like first half of the episode lines.
Did we do a long episode last week? Because we're trying to figure out when I went to bed.
Dude,
it was a while, Bri.
Yeah, it was like an hour and 30 minutes. It was awesome because it covered my entire commute on a slow day, so that was fantastic. I will say this, Bri, a future episode idea that I mentioned to Mark earlier is I think maybe you should consider doing an episode where it's an episode of you listening to the previous episode and commenting on it. Like forcing yourself to listen to the entire episode where you were like wasted and live commenting on it. Like it's very meta. Just think about it.
Right. Would you be upset to know that throughout the episode we just did, the last episode, I wanted to kill you at many portions?
I assume I probably didn't shut up for the whole thing.
You did not shut up for the whole thing. I really Jay had a story he wanted to tell. I thought it was gonna be a really good bit for the show, and I wanted to fucking murder you for many parts of the show. Because I'm like, Jay, how about that? Oh, and another thing I hate.
Yeah,
Jay's gonna be in a prison in Thailand. Fine, he's not gonna get back. Okay.
When I woke up Saturday and I was like, I don't remember much about the show. I was like, there's really not any. No good can come from me listening to it. So.
Your certainty that something terrible was going to happen to Jay had me convinced that you were actually going to fly to Thailand and murder him. Like, there's no way this guy could be that certain that he's willing to, like, bet money that he's going to be in prison. You can either dress up as, like, a Thai cop and, like, frame him for drug crimes or kill him in his sleep. Like, one of the two.
I sent the hitman out there to get him.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Jay was going. His first stop would be the 7-Eleven, so.
Okay, Andrew writes, who would win in a fight between Jay, Mark, and Bry? I'm going to say, Pete, what do you think?
So is it like a three-way? Is it like a Royal Rumble?
I have no idea. I didn't make the rules here. What do you think? What should be a pillow fight? Should we do MMA style? Should we be boxing? What are we doing?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen like you guys like pictures and stuff. I would probably guess a draw. You probably would all just like pass out pretty fast. That's my guess. Sorry.
We're gonna go with that. Andrew writes, "Why aren't the ants at Mark's house co-hosting?"
Because they can't record.
That is the one skill I have that empowered me to.
Well, I mean, we never asked them, but I just assume they can't record.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to do the. Pete, do you listen to our Nick show too?
Yeah. That's how I found this show, actually.
Okay, so I was supposed to do the Nick show on Tuesday with the network we're on. The guy who's like starred the network. He was going to record the show, and then he apparently slept through the show, and so I was not able to record with him. And so I wrote on Facebook that we did not record. And so another fan wrote and said like, "Hey, I could do the show with you." And I was like, "Great. Can you? Do you know how to record?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, "Fuck. Does anyone know how to record?" He's like, "I have no idea." I'm like, not helpful at all, actually.
The funniest thing about this is it is literally, dude. Like if you search record podcast, it's the first link, and there's a like a program you download it, and you press one button, and it's working. Like
I figure it's pretty easy, but I'm just too lazy to look it up.
The barrier of entry
wasn't that hard.
Yeah, the barrier of entry is achievable by even the ants. I swear to God, it's. So,
but did you also, when you emailed us to say you could do the show, you were like, I have an electrical engineering degree? You could have just said, I know how to use Google.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't fully done my search, to the extent I was falling back on my background. But no, I've actually done like real audio engineering in the past. So, but that audio engineering is like really after the recording has already been made and sort of making sure the recording was done right, like in a studio or whatever. This is literally just like freaking recording audio on your audio card with literally a record button.
So, Bri, Pete thinks the audio quality also will be better on this episode than it's been previously with the entire Break of Sanity show we've done.
Well, then Jay's fired.
Jay is not very good at editing shit.
I honestly
Jay's
think
not a sound editor either.
I honestly think Jay wraps like a microphone in an old sock and in a pillowcase, puts it like under his cat and hits record, and then that's the result.
You know what the funny thing, he has a real setup there also, because he has like a more professional looking microphone. He has like a soundboard. He's got a bunch of stuff there.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm actually teasing. It sounds totally fine. I think Jay, I think Mark, what happened was when I first heard your voice, I was like, wow, you sound so different. It might just be like actually just like direct Skype to Skype is really, really high quality, and maybe no matter how, maybe like I said yesterday, right? Like when we do actually make this recording, all of us will sound like terrible, gremlins. Who knows?
It would be fine though if this is better. And like Jay's like, I could have just Googled.
I could have just hit record.
So you guys do when you do it with Jay, like you guys do video, like all three of you are on video?
We do video because at some point, I don't know if you remember, you were listening at this point, but at some point, someone wanted like Jay was using a program to do video, and it didn't. I don't remember exactly. Whatever it was, he had to probably there was this program that he had to upgrade to. It would cost $300 to do it if people wanted to do a video chat. And I was like, that's a fucking terrible idea. I don't want to do a video chat. And we decided, well, if the fans want to pay $300, we'll do this. And then people donated $300. And we got kind of fucked on that one. So now we do a video chat.
And it's like live streamed somewhere, right?
Jay live streams it, and I don't remember where he live streams it, but he does live stream it somewhere, so there are people that can like comment during the show.
So
yeah,
what
the Ustream thing?
The Ustream, well, I think it's Ustream. People can listen live and comment and interact with the show while it's on.
Are the videos like saved somewhere, like to make it a video podcast, or is it just like video live stream, audio podcast?
Do you want us to guess, or do you want a real answer?
I would guess that the video is not saved. I think he does it that way just in case people want to listen live.
I thought he saves the videos. I don't really fucking know.
I hope he doesn't.
There's an archive of like 300 videos of you guys.
It's like 30 hours of just Jay staring into the camera.
Yeah, no, I love also Steven will just like start messaging me during the show about like how I look like an asshole or like why you look so tired. What do you do? I'm like, stop fucking looking at me.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's I've never seen the video stream. I've never like caught it live, although I think it would be fun. But yeah, I wonder what the video stream adds to the listeners of the podcast, because I assume most people aren't on the live stream, right?
Most people are not on the live stream. I myself don't like looking at myself. I don't know why someone else would want to do this. Look at us while we're talking.
Yeah, I never put my video on, so.
But if I don't put it on, then like Steven will say, like someone will say, "Why aren't your video on?" I'll put it on, so I put it on. So, whatever. By the way, the ants. So to get back to the ants. So we've been doing pretty well in like defeating the ants. We have like the service contract, and the guy comes like anytime we have an ant issue, and it's gotten a lot better. Like in the past, we've had like our entire half our kitchen covered in ants. It's been so bad. So the ants are mostly like taken care of, and there's like some every once in a while. But the master bedroom, the master bathroom, that's the one place we cannot seem to defeat the ants right now. And the guy came the other day and put like they're like poison, they're safe for kids poison, and basically our bathtub / shower looks like Cambodian killing fields of like ants. There's dead ants everywhere. And I'm like, this is, but I think we're doing okay at defeating them. But
can you?
I feel like if I knew about the ant issue, and I'm glad we have this house, and I wouldn't have like not want to buy the house. But at the same time, if I knew about the ant issue before the house, I might have been like, let's get a different house, because it drives me. But we've done a pretty good job against them, and so it's just super. The ant thing is just super annoying.
It's a long war.
It's a long war, yeah. It's like it's long. It's gonna be longer than the Afghanistan war.
Are they tiny tiny micro ants? Are they black, red?
They're black. They're like the tiny. If they were regular sized ants,
are you sure somebody did just dump pepper on your floor?
I would have already moved out of the house if they were regular sized ants.
What if they were cockroaches?
I would have shot myself. They're like these little ants that you don't even mind like crushing with your finger because they're so small. So I see ones like I'm sitting in our like fourth bedroom / office, and I see a little ant going, I'll just crush it and with my hand just dump it in the garbage. But at some points that we've had, like the kitchen would be like you'd have an anthill on the counter of like that many ants. It was like crazy. And but then they use this poison stuff basically with the ants, like think it's food. They bring it back to their lair and like it kills them all. And it's actually they do a pretty good job with it. But you can't. They say the major issue is the ants are coming from somewhere outside, but the ant wherever they're coming from could be like 500 feet from your house underground. So they can't really figure out exactly where the ants are coming from.
Jeez, Bri, you ever have an infestation problem?
No. Well, in college we had cockroaches and mice in our apartment.
Oh God.
That was a rough couple days. But as an adult, nothing.
Pete, do you live in an apartment, a house? What do you live in? A shack in a Pueblo village?
A shopping cart?
I live in a panic room, just with like 500 cans of beans, just hoping to wait this one out,
If you have 500 cans of beans, I could stay with you for 500 days.
That's true. That's true. Black beans, your fave.
It is.
No, I live in an apartment building.
So just speaking of my the people that work for the my staff, so our nanny. So now our kids are in school for part of the day.
Wait,
So
are you referring to this is your mansion staff? This is like
yeah. Our staff.
Like-
yeah. You know, I have people that work for me.
It's like the Downton
Anyway.
Abbey style staff, right? Gotcha.
Exactly. oh, Mark, what do you need? The kids are at school. So the kid, like my daughter's in preschool or nursery, whatever they call it, for a couple hours a day. My son's in kindergarten. So there's a couple hours in the day where she's free, so we send her on errands. And not always, but like she's free. We're paying her. We send her to go do our shopping at the supermarket and stuff.
Why don't you have her buy your condoms?
That's a good question.
Put it on the shopping list.
Yeah.
Would it be all? I'd be like, get the Magnums. Then I'm like, my wife's like, why do you have the Magnums? I don't know. I want to sound cool.
Just put like 3 different sizes on there to keep her guessing.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. You should.
That'd be. I decided the first time to buy them online. I bought them like Amazon, and my wife was like, "You don't want to buy that from Amazon." I'm like, "What? It's better me going to CVS? Like, just what the fuck? Like I'm gonna buy them this way, so I don't have to like buy them at CVS."
Yeah, you don't have to buy like 6 other things to mix them in. Oh.
But our kids, anytime there's a box, they get so excited to open the box, and like they always think it's something for them. And her fear was like they'd be like, open it, and they rip open the box, and there'd be like condoms, and there'd be condoms everywhere.
And then they would just be like, what's a condom? And you just say, don't worry about it. And then in 10 years, they'll be like, yeah, those were condoms we were playing with.
So she was worried that she's like, the kids better not grab that package. I'm like, what the package? Anyway, so actually, this is something else I thought of that I want to come back to. But so our nanny, we send her on errands. So for supermarket, one of the things I'll be like, hey, can you, while you're at the supermarket, you get, and we give her the money for it and everything, can you get 40 cans of black beans? Because I want my black beans. Which is like a ridiculous number of black beans to get. And a lot of times she'll be like, they didn't have black beans. And I think she's lying. Because I'll go to the supermarket like that weekend, and the black beans will be there. I think she purposely doesn't get my black beans.
This is the greatest sting operation ever. Like, you need to figure this out. You need to like follow her.
Yeah, I should like
She's got to be racist. That's got to be it, right?
Take the day off work, follow her, watch what she does when she gets to the bean section, and then record it and then confront her with it. Or send her a letter, better yet.
If we're just going to leap to wild accusations, I'm going to go with the racist one.
Yeah, probably that.
Wait,
is this the same person who was accused of being like a ghost,
witch or something?
Ghost
yeah,
lover?
It's been like it's almost like the 1 year anniversary of that letter.
And you're totally cool with having a nanny who has, sexual relations with ghosts in your house? You're cool with that?
Well, it'd be a lot worse if she had like her boyfriend coming over to have sex with him in the apartment. Like if she's having sex with a ghost, like my kids probably think she's playing like a dance party with them or something. I don't know.
What if it was the ghost of Hitler?
Yeah, I don't know if I can go with the ghost of Hitler.
Or what if it were the ghost of like Lincoln?
Well, here's a question.
Well, are all ghosts bad? I mean, what if Hitler's ghost is good?
Exactly my point, Brian. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Hitler thing. So, Pete, you're Christian.
What if Lincoln's ghost is bad?
Yeah, you're Christian. You go to church. What's your religious thing?
Yeah, Christian, but I don't. I should go to church a lot more often than I do. I haven't been to church in a long time.
So isn't the thing like they always like they say you need to repent, accept Jesus into your life, and then you'll go to heaven, right?
That's a simplification, but yeah, you're on the right track.
I want to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So if she's like, well, Hitler accepted Jesus, so it's now okay for me to have sex with his ghost.
Right.
Would you buy that art? Would you be okay with that? Like, Pete, would you have sex with Hitler's ghost if he accepted Jesus?
I don't know if I would want to have sexual relations with a male ghost because I'm not gay. I feel like if ghosts are real and they maintain like sexuality, that would still be a little bit awkward for me.
What if ghosts don't have sexuality? Let's just say it's a ghost. You're not going to feel the penetration.
But it still looks like a dude, right?
And it's a ghost. Who's the ghost going to tell?
Yeah, but it still looks like a dude, correct?
What if all the ghosts think you're kind of gay? What if like all ghosts around here are like fag? No one will even hear them. They're ghosts.
I mean, it would still be like I'd look over my shoulder and it'd be a dude. That would be problematic for me personally.
Here's the question: would you rather have sexual relations with Hitler's ghost or the dead body of a saintly priest.
Wow, that's a doozy. I mean, it's clearly the ghost. Obviously, the other one is closer to having sex with a man, like for real. And I mean, I don't really. Yeah, no. I mean, I don't want to have sex with a man. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Obviously, I'm not gay, so. It's a tricky question. It raises a host of philosophical issues as well. But yeah, no, I would prefer a female ghost.
I don't know if you realize this isn't a podcast. This is actually a test to get a new security clearance.
I knew it. So one of you is my dad. The other is checking on my security clearance. I knew it.
Pete, we were looking into you, and we didn't really.
25 ghosts that you know.
Pete, we didn't really listen that closely, but something about you, Hitler, ghost, death, having sex with a dead priest. We're not going to look at that. You're not getting in, Pete.
We're taking you off the account.
Oh man, I was telling Mark and Jay just when I first emailed them that it would be great if I were actually Steven, and this were like the super long play, like long con. To like get on the phone and the podcast with you guys as Steven.
Oh, you didn't know I'm Steven. And I'm also you.
Wow, this really got like heavy.
So, on a different note, I just heard. So there's my son's in kindergarten, and so one of the other parents said to me, I saw it the other night, said like, did you know in your son's class there's a boy that dresses like a girl? And I said, and I actually kind of could have figured out which kid it was. And I'm pretty sure I know which kid it is. And if it's not, then I really feel bad about thinking
the one in the dress.
Yes. And she's like, her son was talking about her son's in a different class, but like she's friends with my son. And she's like, nothing's wrong with it. She's like, but now I had to explain transgender to my son. And she's like, I think like, why didn't the school like give us a heads up on this? Do you think the school should give us that? Like, first of all, what would your reaction to be? You have a kid in school, and one of the kids is transgender in kindergarten. What would your reaction be?
Me, Brian, you go ahead.
Either one of you, yeah. One of you answer.
All right. My reaction would be, all right, good to know. And if my kid asked me anything about it, I'd explain. Like, look, some boys and some girls feel differently than how they look, and they dress the way they want, and it's no big deal. Just if they're good people and nice to you, like whatever, like leave them alone. They'll leave you alone. Be friends. Do whatever you want. That would be more or less my reaction. But I don't have kids.
I should have done that. We stoned the kid to death, actually.
Oh, all right, that was my backup answer. But
I was like, okay.
Mark moved out of town.
I was like, does the transgender kid know how to kill ants?
Mark converted to Mormonism and now lives outside of Salt Lake City.
It was just like my thought was like, what if you're the school? What do you do in that scenario? In the sense of like, I know the school didn't notify us. I don't think they have to. But if let's say you do notify, it almost makes things worse because then you have like
right.
You might have like some people in the school who are like, because we live in such a crazy fucking society. Some people were like, oh my god, that's the fucking worst thing, and they'll lose their mind over it. Like you're damned if you, and then you're damned if you do, be damned if you don't, kind of thing at the school.
Yeah, I mean the school could theoretically, one course of action is like not to do anything unless there's ever an issue. But I'm sure some lawyer for the school was like, look, there's a chance, eventually that this, boy or whatever, like got, little boy who dresses as a girl will start going to the girl's bathroom, and some girl might see that and like go screaming and shouting to her parents, and this might become like some crazy thing. So you should just tell everyone so they know there's a possibility. So in the event that occurs, they don't lose their mind. So they're in a tough spot, but I do agree with you. Like generally, like it might be better just to not like shine a light on it, because if you are in a small community, you're gonna have like parents like chatting, gossiping. It's gonna make it worse than it is.
It's also like the whole bathroom thing. I'm like, why? Like, don't spend a lot of time in the bathroom. Like, who gives a shit who's in the bathroom? Like, people were acting like it's the biggest deal in the world. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm like, I don't like the people that are allowed to go to the bathroom with me. I don't want to interact with. Like, who gives? Like, maybe the people that are dressed like a woman bit better being in the bathroom with me.
Yeah. Well, my friend's mom, when that whole the Sessions DOJ and Trump took away, they stopped fighting for basically rights for transgender people in bathrooms that they identify with. My friend's mom was like, I'm so glad they did that, because before, what if this gives men an excuse to go hide in the women's bathroom and just watch us? I'm like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Like, first off, there's no law that prevents a dude who wants to watch women pee from, like, walking into a woman's bathroom and watching women pee. It's not like, man, I get to see chicks pee. I'm going to put on a dress and just walk in there and pretend to be one. And then
it's not like women go in like a huge trough like men. It's
Yeah.
not like you're going to walk in and there's going to be like 30 women lined up in front of you squatting over like a hole.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the society they think they live in? Okay, lady, you have to piss in front of me. I'm wearing my dress. You have to piss in front of me. I get to watch. Yeah.
You don't get to close the door on this one. Go.
I get to watch because Trump says I can wear a dress and do this.
Like, nothing about the law makes it easier for, like, a person to, like, stand in the toilet and peer creepily over the separator to watch you. Like, it's like, I don't really understand what exactly about, that changes anything. But she was convinced. She was like, thank God President Trump changed that. I was like, I hope some dudes just go into the bathroom and watch you just on principle to prove how pointless this is.
So I hired some friends just to fuck with you, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have videos of you peeing now.
Yeah.
Kind of fucking weird.
I said Hitler's ghost, actually, who's been shagging my friend's nanny to watch you specifically. So it's going to be even more creepy.
And just to let you know, after death, Hitler, he's pretty good with video editing. Sorry, Jay.
Man, that would be something. Do you think Jay will ever dive back into video editing? Give me your 10-year fast forward predictions for all three of you guys. I'm sure I speak for all fans when I say we'd love to hear your 10-year predictions.
Okay, so Jay, you think Jay will make his move out to the suburbs?
No.
And his dream right now, I guess the path he's heading on is one day in the next 10 years pass the CPA exam. And he wants to move to the suburbs, become the go-to tax guy for the people in his neighborhood.
In a neighborhood where I guess people have never done their taxes before.
Yeah, because everyone already has someone to do the taxes. They're also doing themselves. He's going to go in the neighborhood and go,
but Jay's coming in.
Yeah, use me and blah blah blah. But people become a CPA all the time and do this. So,
but you don't need to be a CPA to do taxes. Aren't the H&R Block people aren't they just tax specialists? Can't CPA do all types of crazy stuff?
Do you think if you told Jay, that Jay would be like, "Why I've been taking all these exams? Holy shit!"
No, we won't tell Jay till after he passes.
I think for the H&R Block stuff, I think there's someone who supervises them.
Yeah.
A CPA has to be they have to work under a CPA, so he wants to be the go-to, the guy who's in charge of that.
And has Jay thought about the fact that one of the only things that Trump has proposed that actually has any snowball's chance in hell of actually passing is comprehensive reform of the tax code that completely destroys the tax code as it exists and creates something completely new?
So do you want to go back in time and tell Jay he's not going to be a video editor either?
No, I'm just saying, it would really suck to be all right, maybe CPA, I'm going to focus on tax to finish the 4 painstaking exams, and to have this doofus of a president, actually the one thing he achieves in a year before he gets impeached is basically tax reform.
Well, maybe Jay could put the whole thing together. He could pass the CPA, get back into video editing, and he could edit videos of himself giving tax code advice to people.
Yeah, or he could do a documentary about himself and his slow descent into madness as this occurred.
So there was this guy, I think the system is done in some other countries, and this guy, I think he was a professor in Sacramento, who started a movement where basically most people's taxes are pretty simple, and the government already has the information already. And so basically the government would send you your filled out tax form, and all you had to do was just sign it and send it back to the government. You had to do nothing.
Oh yeah.
And like you could all you didn't have to keep it, like if your thing was more complex, you could fill it out. But they tried to simplify it for you to get more people to fill out their tax returns. And I feel like once Jay passes his CPA exam, that's going to be what passes, and that everyone's going to have their like, why would you take exams? The government just sent us our filled out tax return already. Fuck.
That would be fantastic.
Okay, so Jay is going to
so 2027. Like, where's Jay?
Is he still living in the same apartment in Queens, Bri?
He may have moved once.
Yeah. Maybe he moved upstairs.
But he's not in the suburbs.
Yeah, that'd be cool if he does the suburb move. I can't see it happening anytime soon. Even though he says he wants to do it within a year, right? Or a year and a half or something.
All right, where are you going to... What is he doing?
I'll be 6 feet under, probably.
Boo! No.
Okay, that was a sad one.
Let's assume you're not. Like, what will you be doing?
Well, like 10 years from now, Bri. First off, he'll be like, "Fine, I'll call you my girlfriend to your face." He'll have started a movement, and it'll take the nation by storm. That everyone takes off their shirt when they go to the bathroom. They'll be calling it. They'll say it's doing the Bri, and Bri will get that patented, and he'll be a rich man.
Nice.
Right, where are you going? Are you going into like a?
Did you start taking a shower?
No, I was trying to kill a spider on my ceiling, and I moved too far away from my laptop, and my headset popped out of the.
Oh. It sounded like you fell into a vortex or something briefly to just returned.
No.
I like to think 10 years from now I will have defeated the ants.
You'd like to think that.
I'd like to think that. What else?
Any more kids?
I think in 10 years, Peter's going to be defending me from murder or something.
Of Jay in Tokyo, because the case will take that long to get to trial.
I told you one of these trips you're not coming back from, Jay.
Now you're just a ghost that Mark's nanny sleeps with.
If I have more kids, something has gone horribly wrong in my life. I'm good with 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you were too afraid to buy condoms.
He's overcome that fear.
My nanny didn't buy the right condoms for me, and I have another kid.
Oh, man.
Pete, where are you going to be in 10 years?
I don't know. It's a good question. Probably still, I'm when I first had to move out here 7 years ago, which is completely nuts. I was like really dreading. Like I remember when I was at my office in New York, like they have an office here in Chicago, and they sent an email out, and I was in the New York office, and it was like a wardrobe reminder, of appropriate etiquette for fashion, and it said there's a reminder to you all that you cannot wear the following, and several of the things included like overalls, clothing with straw, like leather. I'm like, what the hell is going on in Chicago? Like, are those fools like riding tractors to work? Like, it sounded insane. I mean, like, overalls was a real thing that a corporate like law firm had to say, don't wear this to the office. So I was dreading coming out here, but I've settled in and I'm, pretty comfortable in this area, and so I'll probably still be here. I'll probably still be doing some sort of like legal practice, and hopefully not involved with any male ghosts, because that would be problematic, really.
Why did you have to? You're working at the same firm, I presume, in New York. Why did you have to move to Chicago?
They wanted me to, just because of the work I was doing. Like the work had a much greater demand, like in Chicago than in New York, so they relocated me. And I honestly grew up in New York. I went to school, law school, all that stuff in New York, and I love New York, but I had reached a moment, like right at the same time that they were asking me to. I was working for a judge actually at the time, because I worked at my firm. I clerked, and during my clerkship, they were like, "Come to New York, come to Chicago," and like the moment that they were reaching out was a moment that I had just seen, like a homeless person like poop on a train, like stepped on like 6 cockroaches.
You were done with New York.
Yeah, it was just like the whole day and the lead up. I was just like, man, we put up with a lot of crap to live in this city. And, I walked up 4 flights to get into my 375 square foot studio that I could barely afford on like a really good salary, where I could never have any items shipped to my home because I was worried someone would steal them and UPS couldn't enter the building. It was just like a multitude of stuff. And I'd just gotten out of a relationship too. So I was like, you know what? I'll live with those yeehaws in Chicago and put on some overalls and ride a horse to work. It's okay. I can do it. So
have you seen anyone as an adult wearing overalls there?
Hilariously enough, dude, like 3 weeks ago, I met up with a couple of friends, including a professional female attorney who showed up wearing overalls to a bar.
Oh.
But it was like, I think it was an attempt to be like stylish and edgy, but still, nevertheless, it was like, man, it's come full circle. Like 7 years, I finally saw it. A professional lawyer wearing Oshkosh Bagosh giant overalls, and it's happening right now. It's really happening.
Was she hot? That sounds like it could be a good look for a hot girl.
Yeah, she's pretty. But I just couldn't wrap my head around what I was witnessing because it was like, this is happening. I saw the memo myself many years ago, and this is it.
How much better is so you were living? You said you had like a small studio in New York City or something. How much?
You do not even want to know. You like it will blow your mind. So again, I was so upset moving out here, and I took an apartment. I got an apartment here in Chicago. Like I took it sight unseen. Right. I saw the floor plan and like some pictures taken with like a Motorola Razr made in like 2007, like awful pictures. And for half of my rent in New York, I lived in a the first place I lived in was like on the 33rd floor of a high rise that like Vince Vaughn and several Blackhawks and Chicago Bears lived in. With floor to ceiling windows right next to the Hancock building, like super luxury, like dorm. I mean, crap that I'd never in my life ever thought was fathomable. And had like 600 square feet. I could not believe it.
How much, like, if you don't mind me asking, how much did that cost?
That place was like, I want to say like $1,600 a month or $1,700 a month. And it was, I mean, in the heart of the city, like near, like everything is super accessible. And the huge difference that I think every New Yorker I've met who's like in Chicago now agrees with is you don't realize how insanely, utterly filthy New York is. Like until you're in a city like this and you see how important it is to have alleys, which we don't have in New York, because that's why we think it's acceptable as New Yorkers to have gigantic small mountains of trash and refuse literally on the pathways that we walk and like live on. Then you go somewhere where they actually had the foresight to space buildings a tiny bit. Of course, like the whole city burning down was a big help. And you're like, wow, it's actually abnormal to have gigantic mountains of filth like on your footpaths like every day. It's not really healthy or good. So at the same time, the thing that they call pizza here is just like bread casserole slop. And like a lot of places close here super early, which is disappointing.
What's super early?
The area that I live in, most places a lot of places stay open till like 1:30 or 2. But generally, in New York, if we were hanging out downtown and Brian was like, I'm in the mood for Mongolian buffet, and it was like 3 a.m. on a Sunday night, we could find a place in 5 minutes.
Pretty sure I never would say that, but
yeah, but if you did, we could figure.
You come to New York and I'll say that. You can take me for a Mongolian buffet,
and I'll find a place pretty quickly. But here, it's pretty limited. At 2 a.m. on a Friday night, depending on where you are, you might have no options other than like Wendy's. So there's a lot of trade-off. And also the big one is that the sincerity, I think, of the people. Like in New York, if you ask someone for directions, they will either not give you directions and like just basically tell you to screw yourself or walk away. But if they do give you directions, they actually want to give you directions, right? Here, and I think in a lot of the Midwest, people will be like, oh, yeah, sure. And even if they have zero interest, they'll still kind of go through the motions, and the lack of sincerity is very, it's very noticeable. That's the big.
So we should all be transferred to Chicago, basically.
I'll tell you, man, the quality of life is significantly higher, and the rent is like, I mean, imagine if Manhattan were just one massive island that subsumed Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, Staten Island, who cares? But, you know, if it just was a big thing and you could live in any part of it and get to any other part of it pretty quickly and easily and cheaply. And that's basically what it is. It's just it's a big, big city. And all the crime that you hear about, like all the crime that everyone hears about is, and this is like a disgrace. It's completely localized south of one street.
According to Donald Trump, everyone basically the fact that you haven't been shot during this show is shocking.
Yeah, I was actually shot 3 times and stabbed during the course of this podcast, but I know how to apply first aid. No, it's all localized, and that's kind of a gigantic failing of the Chicago Police Department, which is they basically have just created a big artificial barrier where the community, you could see it, like you could literally stand on the north side of it, look across the street, and it looks like a war zone on the opposite side. And that's where all the shootings, all the murders, like all the gang activity is localized, hardly taken care of. There's no community resources. And
So Brian will move there and be like, I put on a suit, I went with the realtor, I got a great deal on this place. I know the area doesn't seem so good, though.
Well, this is the best day ever.
Maybe I get a car there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, rent one. Rent a Mustang, please.
Andrew writes, where in the world would you go on holidays if you could? Obviously, Jay is currently living the dream by going to Japan and Thailand, but secretly he only went to Thailand to see ladyboys. And Alan wrote, nothing wrong with the right ladyboy. Brian, where would you go on holiday if you could go anywhere in the world?
Well, I haven't really been anywhere in the world, so that's a hard question to answer.
Well, pick a place.
I'd like to go to Rio.
Oh man, one of the best cities on earth.
It would be great if Brian was like, I'd like to go to Pittsburgh.
Fuck Pittsburgh.
Scranton is lovely this time of year.
One day I'd like to afford that bus fare.
Bri, definitely, a really good trip you could take is fly to Buenos Aires for like 4 days, and then like 4 or 5 days in Rio after that, like a 10-day trip. And Rio is one of the most like beautiful, awesome, fun, lively cities on earth. It's one of my favorites.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
I did like a 2-week trip where I did Rio, Buenos Aires, and then the Inca Trail also.
Oh,
it was pretty cool.
Did you like Rio, Mark?
I did. It was cool today. Yeah, it was nice. I liked. I think I like Buenos Aires was a lot different.
Yeah,
like,
it is very different.
Yeah.
Way more reserved. Way more reserved.
Where would I go? I would go. Japan would be kind of cool. I've never been. I've been there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could go bail Jay out.
Yeah, I'll go bail Jay. Where would you go, Pete?
Actually, I was thinking about it recently. I think I would try to go to Madagascar.
Isn't that a cartoon?
You know it's not real, Pete.
I am referring to cartoon. I would like to be in it, ideally, as a pelican.
Wouldn't it be great if Pete just he's like, I want to go to Care Bear Land.
Yeah. I hear Voltron. No, that's the entity. I thought there was somewhere.
I had a dentist for a while whose son was an archaeologist, or he was studying an archaeologist or something like that. And he spent a lot of time in Madagascar. And I was talking to him about it while he was doing my teeth, and I was like, oh, how's Madagascar? And he said, it's the most awful place on earth.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
I've heard that too. It's super duper awful. And like in the cities and stuff, you will get like swindled, and it's like disgusting, and there's no infrastructure, and it's terrible. So
that's where Jay will end up in jail.
Yeah, I've heard that. But you know what inspired? I'm really into horticulture and like plants, specifically cacti and like desert plants and like carnivorous plants. And there are like all these etchings from the 14th, 15th century of people who first like got to Madagascar of these plants that the natives sacrificed humans to. These were human eating plants that were these huge, just imagine like massive Venus flytrap type plants, and I forget what they're called, but they're plants that like they look like buckets, and these natives would throw humans into them, and they would like slowly digest them, and supposedly they still exist in
the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, more or less. But yeah, they're like supposedly, rumored to be still out there in the Madagascar jungle. So I would like to see them.
It would be unfortunate because then you'd see them. They'd be like, "Nope, this still exists. We're doing this."
Yeah.
Aw, damn it.
Yeah, a non-native. You arrived just in time for our lunar sacrifice.
So these like Disney Pixar movies, basically, they set your kids up for like complete like disappointment in life. They're like vermin and like bears are really friendly. You should go play with them and go visit Madagascar. It's wonderful there. The animals sing and dance, and they sacrifice you to plants, and they probably will kill you.
Yeah, into the Sarlacc.
Alan writes, in Thailand, they have strict laws on their royal family. You can't insult them. Like this American guy accidentally pointing his feet at the image of the former king, he was convicted of a crime and thrown in jail. Do you think this will happen to Jay and his girlfriend?
I hope Jay interacts with the Thai king. That would be amazing. That would be a great story.
Well, Jay's girlfriend is Thai, and she has family there, so I feel like they would probably steer him away from...
It depends how they feel about Jay, though.
Maybe this is their plan to get rid of Jay.
Yeah.
That would be
It was
diabolical.
our plan to get rid of Jay.
That would be diabolical.
She'll just take over, I know how to record the show, and she'll just take over and Jay's...
How long have they been dating?
I want to say, what do you think? Probably like 7-8 years.
Has it been that long? Yeah,
I think it's been a long time.
Yeah, then it's due. Then she's due. This is a She probably told Bri beforehand, and that's why he's so confident and wanted to make bets. I've solved the riddle.
On it.
You guys are in on it.
Alan writes, Mark, you are the family. Any crazy stories this week? Are the ants back? Well, Alan, we've talked about the ants already. I'm not going to bore you guys with kid stories this week. Should they go? Actually, I talked about the transgender kid in my son's class. So there you go.
Did your son ask about it? Like, has he noticed it?
No, he hasn't mentioned it at all. So I'm not gonna bring that up.
Did it inspire you to encourage your son to wear a dress as well?
No, it has not. That is not. I'm not inspiring.
No, he was wearing dresses before that.
But he would like. But if I joke with my kids a lot, and if I joke with him about wearing a dress, he would be like, he would haha. He would think that's not what you wear as a boy.
Oh, okay.
And he's very much like a boy and a girl, and there's very much like things that are girl things. He does not like. If he thinks it's a girl thing, he's like, no, I want a boy thing or whatever. So he's very into the boy. My daughter's. I didn't expect it, but she's very into girly stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know if that was something I don't really know how it works. I don't know if people force the girly stuff on their daughters, or the girls just naturally end up girly, or I mean some aren't obviously. But my daughter is very she's kind of she's kind of crazy as a kid, but she's also very into girly. She likes to wear mommy's jewelry and she's into that kind of stuff.
What's the age gap between your kids?
My son turned 6 at the end of June, and my daughter is 3. Right. She just turned 3 in March. So
can you tell if they're going to be good friends, or if you had to guess, are they going to be really close in the future? I have a younger sister with about the same age gap, and we had a good run until we were about 10, 13, and then we didn't really have a good run, and now as adults we do.
Yeah, I feel for a lot of kids that probably is true. At some point you don't, but when you go away to college, you become when you're away from each other. Maybe when you become adults, you become grow back together. It's hard to tell. My kids they really love playing with each other, but they also fight maybe 300 times a second. It's unbelievable how often they fight over the most ridiculous things. I think my all-time favorite fight was we're in the car. And my daughter goes, I want to go to my house. And my son goes, it's my house. No, it's my house. I kid you not, 40 minutes later of fighting. Of just my house. Okay, you couldn't even get them to shut up about this stupid my house thing already.
For posterity, can you go on the record now and tell us, in fact, whose house is it? Is it your son's or your daughter's?
I said, it's my
house.
It's my fucking house. I own this house. You guys didn't pay for it. Shut the hell up. It's Hitler's ghost house, okay?
Mm-hmm. Good answer.
Yeah. Alan writes, so with all the Trump business this week, you hear he's going to have a speech about Islam in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, my God.
I knew he was going to Saudi Arabia. I did not hear the Islam part. Holy shit. Will he survive that speech, and will he start a fucking war? Holy shit.
I think I was like, I don't even have, I have no words for what that. So, Obama, I think his first speech, and it was right after he was inaugurated, he spoke in Cairo, and he gave a speech that actually was kind of like what led to people say like him getting the Nobel Peace Prize. It was this like vision of the future and blah, blah, blah. And this was Trump's speech. This was Trump's answer.
Let me just interrupt real quick. So I'm getting married, and we have a rabbi, and the rabbi we didn't really know that well. It was the rabbi with the temple we were getting married, but we
married again.
It was a number of years ago. Almost 8 years ago. Almost 8 years ago. And the rabbi is
turned out to be Muslim.
Yeah, this is 8 years ago. So he's like, and like we're talking about like our like how we're different, and my wife's like, oh, he likes in the politics. I'm not so into politics. So the rabbi's like, oh, what'd you think of Obama's speech in Cairo? And I'm liberal, and I hadn't even heard the speech, but I was like, oh, probably good, whatever. And the rabbi goes, I thought it was an abomination, and he like went off on Obama, and I was like, what the fuck? This guy's going to marry us, and he was so embarrassed. Like later on, he was so embarrassed. He like the next time we saw him was at our fucking wedding, and like he said he'd gone out of his way to like do a really good job at our wedding, and like because he felt so bad about how he like reacted.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. They actually did a great job at our wedding, but he's like, I'm so sorry about that. I'm like, I didn't really give a shit. Like, but it was just so funny. He's like, I thought it was an abomination. I'm like, really? And you're like voicing that here? You think I'm gonna get together and like bash Obama with you?
You gotta reach back out to him after Trump gives a speech in Saudi Arabia and ask him what he thinks of that.
Holy shit! This is.
You gotta close the circle on that, man.
Do you think he's gonna be like in the speech like the towel has loved me? I always love how he's always like the blacks love me. I'm like, how is this person saying this in this way in the time that I'm alive also? Like he's not from the 1960s going, the blacks love me.
He's like a dude from like the 50s or something with like a slightly modernized and like more limited vocabulary, and like he's got the sensibilities of some like racist from the, like Jim Crow era.
Like, so his dad, like, obviously Trump family's in real estate, and his dad was in real estate, but his real estate his dad did, like he was rich, but it wasn't like as like Trump Tower, like as glamorous. It was more like shit places for people to live, or like it was. Anyway, what I'm picturing is that like he probably was around construction a lot growing up, and like basically he kind of took on the. His dad probably also was around construction growing up, and it's basically you feel like Trump is like a construction worker that was handed $1 billion.
Yeah,
that's the kind of how he talks.
Yeah. Time. So imagine that guy. Imagine like the next time you're walking around New York and you see some construction workers. Imagine one of them appearing in Saudi Arabia to speak about Islam, and that's what we're probably going to get.
Oh my God, this will be on a positive note, it'll at least take the Russia thing and Trump like impeding the investigation out of the news cycle for like a day when we're all like, holy shit, Trump said this.
Yeah. Well, the news cycle will be like Trump comments result in global religious war declaration. God.
I had to say the news is getting so insane. So like on my commute, I watch like a lot of shows on my phone, like, and I'm right now I'm almost done with Sons of Anarchy, and it's a pretty good show. And I was watching Sons of Anarchy, but I get like a New York Times alert on my phone for a Trump thing. I'm like, I'm pretty sure the Trump article is going to be more interesting than Sons of Anarchy, even though Sons of Anarchy is pretty good. Like, and it's like I think it was the Comey, him asking Comey if you could just like not go, like you could just end this investigation. I'm like, this is fucking insane. Do you think, Pete, you're a lawyer? Do you think Trump is guilty of obstruction of justice?
Yeah, he is, because the intending to obstruct justice. Like people are saying like, oh, Trump, he's not a lawyer. He's not a politician. He just, he's trying to be, friendly, chummy, blah, blah, blah. But the intent requirement of obstruction of justice goes to, did you intend to cause like the thing that you wanted, right? He intended to cause the end of the Flynn investigation. That is the requisite intent. He didn't need to have like specific intent to commit like obstruction of justice or perjury or whatever.
I mean, he also then threatened Comey on Twitter so the entire world could read it.
Oh man,
yeah, he's of all people threatening if there's a tape on there that he has a tape on someone. It's like, hello.
But the
even he was able to Google, how to record crap and actually implement it. So
yeah,
it's also the crazy thing about it is that like they were like, so you fired him because of, like they're interviewing Trump. He's like fired him because you didn't like what he did with Hillary's emails. No, I was thinking about Russia the whole time. The investigation I'm trying to impede.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love he sends all those guys out and they're like, oh, that's all a bunch of bullshit. And then he comes out and he's like, no, it's not bullshit. It's true. I did it. What's the problem? I'm the president. Can't I do that?
There are some things that are just unbelievable. So the Michael Flynn stuff. And like Michael Flynn, he made him national security advisor.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he had to resign. And so now it came out that Michael Flynn told the Trump campaign, or I guess the Trump administration, he was under investigation. He told them before he even got appointed.
Oh yeah.
Which is, like, I understand maybe they didn't know they were warned about him and they didn't realize he was under investigation. He literally told them he was under investigation. They're like, oh, okay, we'll give you the job anyway. Like, it'd be like giving Brian the job of like the FBI thing, and they were like, I don't even know. I told you I took shrooms. You're right, Brian. I don't know.
Everyone told him. Everyone. Obama told him that. The former acting attorney general told him. And Michael Flynn told him, like, don't hire me. And he's like, nah, I got a good feeling about this.
I'm just amazed that, like, he told them that, like, it's not even that everyone else. He literally. And now they were talking about Joe Lieberman to be head of. And I don't know how bad Joe Lieberman would be the head of the FBI. But then I think he worked as he registered as a foreign agent for Libya, and I'm like, you may not be a good choice at this point.
Yeah, it's completely, dude. Bob Dole registered as a foreign agent for Taiwan, and apparently, like right before the inauguration, he somehow told Trump, "Yeah, this one China policy, ditch it." And I don't know if you guys remember, but that's what led Trump to say, like, "Yeah, I don't believe in this one China thing," and China immediately was like, "This could lead to war." It's casual oversight. Oh god.
I read something about how like also people in his administration, some people send him fake articles trying to like almost trick him into their positions. And there's a hoax, like a fake New York Time magazine cover from like 20 years ago about how we're heading towards an ice age. And they did that with something about like global warming. It was something to basically like get Trump to like not believe in global warming, but like apparently like he fell for the fake article, the fake Time magazine cover from like 20 years ago.
Man, that guy's gonna find my like GeoCities page from like 1999 and believe that the Knicks are gonna win a championship like next year. It's gonna be pretty bad.
So the show is, I think, running to a close. What did we learn today? I'm going to say, just to jump in first, I'm going to say we learned that the show goes on pretty smooth without Jay.
Yeah, with or without.
Sorry, Jay. If you're in a prison there, we may not have to raise money to get you out of there because Pete can record the show.
Yeah,
I got that skill, that Google skill.
We also learned today that if we had Googled, we wouldn't have needed Pete today.
Mm-hmm. Totally superfluous skill.
What else we learned today?
Pete's a good guy to keep on the payroll because he can record and he's a lawyer that he can get us out of trouble. So,
please get yourselves into trouble, and I will get you out.
And he recommends Chicago highly. I bet Chicago gets a very, very good review on Yelp from Pete.
Yeah. Now Jay's going to change his whole life plan and look at Chicago.
He should. He would slot right in here.
You might have to talk him into it. I assume we have no goodbye music.
One of you guys sing happy? Yeah, there you go.
Goodbye.
Hold on.
Goodbye.
Maybe I could do this. Let me try.
Okay.
I'll try to add it in post production, meaning I'll just record it after I hang up with you guys. So
post production, nice. So you gonna turn it into an MP3 and then send it to me somehow?
Yeah, I'll put it in like a Dropbox like thing, and what do you call it? Take it from there.
Okay.
And
awesome.
Are we going to email it to Jay to have him put it up from jail?
Jay sent me the instructions on how to do it, and I would actually send the instructions to Pete to do it. But I think the password he gave me for this thing might be his password if he uses for everything.
Oh yeah, it probably is.
Pete would be like, "I only did this. I'm really Steven, and I have Jay's bank account number now."
No, Pete's really Jay.
I am. This is just an elaborate ruse. Do you guys want to plug like leaving reviews and stuff? I got the exit music teed up right now.
You could listen to us complain about the Knicks on the New York Knicks podcast, and write us reviews or buy a T-shirt. And Jay knows the phone numbers.
Brink of Sanity 3 on Twitter and
whatever.
Isn't it the Gmail address too? Isn't it the Brink of Sanity?
Something like that.
The Brink of Sanity at Gmail.
We're not good with the plugs. We didn't think through the plugs.
I mean, I'm going to double check this for you because I should actually look at this. Jay always does all the plugs. So, if Pete, do you want to plug your law firm?
No.
Peter, are you available next week in case Jay doesn't make it?
Yeah, in his absence, I'm happy to. Yeah, it's the Brink of Sanity at gmail.com. So anyway, nice chatting with you guys. Thanks for letting me help out, and yeah, hopefully Jay does make it back and hear you guys next week or a couple of weeks.
Yeah, here's the big thing I want from the listeners. Please tell us, do you prefer Team Jay or Team Pete?
No. That's heavy competition.
I think it would be hilarious. Please, if you're listening to the show, give a review.
I would say everyone should download this multiple times and encourage all their friends to download it multiple times just to get the number higher than it has been.
Jay has pointed out the shows I've missed, the episodes for some reason the numbers are really down. And I think it's just a coincidence, but it'd be really funny if the numbers were up when Jay was gone.
It would be amazing.
Though, if Pete, if you took over for Jay, you'd have to develop sleep apnea.
Yeah, I would. I need to get sleep apnea, and yeah, whenever I hear about that mask, though, I automatically picture a TIE fighter pilot. So that's actually pretty cool.
A little bit. Mark, did you ever get tested? Did you ever do the thing, or?
No, I haven't done that yet. At some point, I might go back. I don't know. My wife, she's just like, I'm not going to really make you do it. I'm like, I think you are. She's like, I'm not going to make you do it. And like, we go.
I'm not going to make you do it, but if you don't, you might die. So maybe.
I know I don't have sleep apnea. The signs of sleep apnea aren't there. It's just more like I still probably need the sleep study. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but it's not. I don't do this thing where I stop breathing in the middle of the night. Or at least she sleeps through it. So whatever.
Cool.
Anyway, let's play the goodbye music.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Mark, when are the Mets going to win again?
Goodbye.
Probably the time Jay gets back.
Again. Pretty good.
Goodbye, everybody. It's over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end.